Welcome to the Constantly Varied Real Estate, Fitness, and Nutrition podcast. This is episode 3. I am your host, Heather Ford. With me, I have my co-host, Chuck Ford. We are going to be talking about all things CrossFit today, more specifically how Chuck and I got started in CrossFit, some really fun things along the way, a little bit of a time jump back to a time when CrossFit was thriving in my mind. We'll be doing a lot of name dropping. So if you're familiar with CrossFit, this is going to be like a who's who in the CrossFit space kind of a podcast. So we have some really fun stories to share with you, and we're just going to have a nice conversation about how CrossFit started for us and where we are today with it.
Right. And kind of, where it began for me, and then bringing it to you, where we went, different travels that we've done to follow the sport.
Right.
And then also the things that we've done to embrace the methodology that we talked about, which kind of, you're going to explain some of the methodology of CrossFit and what it means before we kind of jump into our story. Yeah,
that's a good point. What is CrossFit? So kind of a formal definition of what CrossFit is constantly varied functional fitness performed at high intensity across modal domains. So that's the definition. And what that means is we perform a variety of different movements and methods of training just so that you can perform your everyday life at the highest level. So when I'm 90 years old, I want to be able to squat and sit on a toilet and go to the bathroom.
And I want to be able to reach down and deadlift grocery bags to carry them in the house, or press the bag of sugar over my head onto the top counter.
Yes, or run after grandkids,
Yeah,
and
to clean them. You pick them up, clean them to your body to hold.
Exactly.
So those are the different things we do.
CrossFit is used for a variety of things, but mostly it is just be able to live your life at the highest level. Functional fitness. Yeah, good point.
So, one of the things that we follow again in CrossFit is the nutrition, and in the CrossFit definition, the terminology, they begin the whole 100 words or less of what CrossFit means. It starts out with the nutrition. You want to tell us what that was?
So you should Google CrossFit in 100 words and read that whole thing. It's very, it's a good thing to read, and it'll give you a good understanding of really what CrossFit is. But as far as the nutrition goes, so the prescription is to eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar in amounts that support exercise but not fat gain. Body fat, that's the word I was looking for. Body fat. So that is basically the definition of a whole foods diet, right? So you're eating mostly foods that have come in their closest to the original form as they were intended to. So even though, a chicken breast, as I mentioned before, is processed, it's not as processed as a chicken nugget.
Right. Or a can of chunked chicken breast.
Right. So we want to have minimally processed foods. So that's the definition of nutrition, and that's really what we've followed in different methods. But yeah. That's a good thing.
So now we got kind of all that administrative stuff out of the way with what functional fitness or CrossFit is and how we eat. So, excuse me, how do we get started on this? I guess I was the beginning. When I worked in Denver, one of the guys that I worked with, shout out to Rob Grooms, good buddy of mine. I can't wait to hang out with him again. Yep, cool dude. He was into CrossFit, was a long-time CrossFitter. And
he has his L1, right? He was a coach.
He was a coach when he was in South Carolina, I believe. We traveled to Orlando once, and we were staying in a hotel, and in the parking lot of the hotel was a functional fitness gym called HEW, Hard Exercise Works. That's what it was. HEW. Anyway, it was HEW, and it was not a CrossFit affiliate, but it was very similar. It was a chain of functional fitness gyms that you could go to. So it was within 2-minute walk. So he'd walk over there and go. And Rob never pushed anything on me, but excuse me, he asked me if I wanted to go. So I went along with him because I had an interest in it, but I was and still am out of shape. But I went with him, and I loved it. I mean, I had a really good time, and it was good to hang out with my buddy, and we were traveling.
Was it hard?
So it was hard. It was very hard, but it was something that I could do while we were traveling instead of sitting in the room. So I went with him, and it worked really well when we went back to excuse me. When we went back to Denver, I went to one of the local boxes there, or I went to his box, which CrossFit Watchtower.
Kevin Ogar is the owner of that one.
Yep. And you should Google Kevin Ogar. It's a great story.
Side note to that, my sons refer to that gym, they've been to it, as the DC gym.
Right.
Because he has Superman and a bunch of DC comic characters
which is
painted
where
in the
name
gym.
Watchtower came from.
Exactly.
So we went there. I dropped in there, enjoyed it. We went back to Orlando, spent another few weeks, and we made more of a effort to go every day.
Right.
At that time. I believe that's when you might have came and visited.
Yeah, I came down to visit. I brought the boys down to Disney World because it was a good opportunity to do that. And I had been working on my fitness, not using CrossFit. I had been doing some other things. I was doing Beachbody.
Yep,
So I was doing some Beachbody workouts then, and I was in a little bit better shape than I had been in the past. And you and Rob invited me to come before the boys and I headed off to the parks. And so I came with you a handful of times, maybe 2 or 3 or 4, the 5 days that I was there. And so that was my very first introduction to a CrossFit style workout. And it was very hard, but I really liked it. There was something about it that I really enjoyed.
So when I went back to the Denver area, or Littleton, Colorado, I decided to find a gym that was close to me. Watchtower was a little further away, but there was one that was just a couple miles from my house, and that was CrossFit Ken Carroll.
Yes.
And the owners there.
Chris and Jamie Becker are the owners there.
Chad.
Yep, sorry, Chris. Chad. Sorry, Chad. Chad and Jamie Becker, really phenomenal people. They'll come up again when we talk about our first games trip, too.
So I joined there. Rob came and did a drop-in with me. Said, yep, Chuck, you're set here. It's a good place. So I started going, and then a few months later, Heather came out to work.
Yeah, I had a work detail. Chuck and I both worked for the VA at the time, and I was out there for a month. So it really wasn't a question. I was going to end up going to the gym with Chuck. Yep. So for a month, I went to CrossFit Ken Carroll, and that was really what got the ball rolling. Not a full month, right?
Well, you went for one day.
I went for one day, and then
we went back the second day, and she was a little reluctant to get out of the car. Matter of fact,
I didn't get out of the car.
Did not get out of the car, but I was bound and determined to go. So I went in and got my workout in an hour and came back out, and she was still sitting in the car.
Yeah. Feeling pretty terrible about myself. Had a nice little pity party out there while you were inside working out.
But guess what? I went back to the gym the next day too, because I was hooked on it and wanted to go. And
I went with you that third night, and then ever since. Yeah. And the whole reason I sat in the car was because, one, I was pretty sore from that first workout because I think I went a little bit harder than what I should have gone because I'm competitive by nature. And my ego was also bruised a little bit. I was maybe thinking that I don't know if I can do this. And so I just stayed in the car because I could.
But she came back the next night
came back.
And been coming back ever since. Matter of fact, after her month was up in Colorado, she came back to Lincoln.
Yeah.
And immediately.
I came back home. I had done the research on the different CrossFit gyms that were here in Lincoln. At the time, there were 3. It was CrossFit Oxano, CrossFit Wolfbone, and CrossFit Lincoln. And CrossFit Lincoln stood out among the other 2. And CrossFit Oxano is now Ironborn Fitness, and it's on the north side of town. So that wasn't going to work for me anyway because it was too far from where I lived for me to get to every day. And CrossFit Wolfbone was downtown. I didn't really want to think about parking and things like that. So I immediately went to CrossFit Lincoln, and the owners there were great. And I started, and I'm my personality trait is so that when I find something that I like, I become obsessive about it.
Right.
And you're the same way.
I'm the same way. Yep.
And so I immersed myself in the gym. I was going 5 to 6 days a week, and I volunteered, signed up for every extracurricular activity or event that was going on around there. And I just fell in love with the gym and the people there, and I have some really good relationships formed from being a part of that gym, which I still am.
Yeah, and I think by nature you're kind of a leader too, so the thought of coaching came about, which something
came pretty early.
Yeah, I was not interested in coaching, so to speak, but I had an interest in the CrossFit Level 1 seminar,
yes.
which is to learn more about. So we decided we'd go to the CrossFit Level 1 seminar, which would allow us both to coach if we wanted to, but also to further our CrossFit education.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't do anything the easy
normal
way. You could look and we could find a Level 1 seminar.
Yeah, there was one in Omaha, I'm sure.
Coming up at some time. But when we were scrolling through looking, we saw one at the ranch in Aromas. And if
California.
you're a CrossFitter, you know the ranch is the birthplace of the CrossFit Games, which is, it's not really, I mean, it is a box because that's where a box in CrossFit is the gym, but it is a gym because that's where they hold the seminars at, but it's not really an active box. Like you can't go to
it's a residence.
It's a residence. It's
Dave Castro's
who's
family
kind of one
owns it, yeah.
The beginning guys of CrossFit. It's his family ranch. So when they had the first CrossFit Games, that's where they had it.
Yep.
He just took people there. There was like, I don't know, 30 competitors or whatever. It was more beer drinking than
there's a couple documentaries.
And that was year 2 though.
The documentary was.
So we kind of missed the first year, but anyway, that's where we decided to go take the ranch, and we had some great instructors while we were there.
So our CrossFit Level 1 seminar staff is an all-star staff. So our flow master was Austin Bigabing. Don't ask me how to spell it. I know how to say it. He has a gym out there. I cannot remember what it's called, but he is CrossFit OG. All these guys are, and he was a phenomenal instructor, flow master. Then we had Michelle Moots. She is an instructor at CrossFit Aptos, which is owned by Zach Pine, and he was also there as a seminar staff. One thing I have to say about Michelle Moots is I just am in awe of her and her movement. She exemplifies the virtuosity that is CrossFit. And virtuosity in CrossFit means doing the common uncommonly well. So her squat was perfect. Everything is just perfect. So if you ever have the opportunity to go out to that area and get coached by her, you're in amazing hands. So Zach Pine, also OG. I think he was in the first games. Yes, he was in the.
Still on the board.
Yes, his name is still on the whiteboard out there. He was in the very first games. And then, did I say Wes Pyatt already? No, Wes Pyatt. He is a former firefighter. He owns a gym out there. CrossFit. Front Range.
Maybe.
We're gonna butcher that, but if we're incorrect, we'll fix it.
Yeah, we'll fix it.
Really, really amazing instructor. He has been a CrossFit Games and competitor also. But he owns a gym out there and is a really amazing affiliate owner. And then Mike Anderson was interning at that. He's
from Malibu.
Yes, he owns CrossFit Malibu. Really cool guy. We ran into him at the games. Yep. But he did amazing as well. So is that everybody?
Oh, that's everybody from the seminar.
From the seminar, right.
But the seminar was like
2 days.
Was our high point of going out there. That's what we went for. But we had so much more in that 4-day trip or 5-day trip, however long it was.
So while we were at the ranch, we climbed the hill.
Yeah. The hill, the famous hill.
Yeah.
We walked up the hill, and there's actually a rig at the top of the hill outside, just a rig, and so we did some pull-ups and got some pictures taken.
Yep.
And that's where Dave Castro did his workouts, where he'd like run up there with a rifle and a backpack on.
There is a firing range up there too.
He'd do pull-ups and fire his weapons, the target practice. And then on our way back down the hill, we stepped in a pile of bees. Yeah. Just out in the middle of nowhere.
There was a pile of bees in like a little hole, and we're walking. And I'm like, I'm getting stung by something on my ankle.
And I was too then. So
we looked back and there was a pile of bees.
So that was, and then, but while we were also in Santa Cruz, we went to CrossFit Santa Cruz Central. I believe it is, who is owned by Annie Sakamoto, another OG. She was one of the nasty girls in one of the very first CrossFit videos. And when we were doing
Eva
the workout
T and Nicole
there,
Carroll, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
When we were doing the workout there, we had a 400-meter run, and we ran by the garage. That was the actual
that they filmed that in, where they started.
Where they started CrossFit, where Greg Glassman started CrossFit. So that was really cool. And we thought, man, we're in seventh heaven. So then we went and did another workout at CrossFit Aptos the next day, and there we were coached by.
Oh, I forgot to look up her name. Logan Vander.
We'll put it in the show notes.
We'll put it in the show notes. She has really curly hair. She has done, she is announced for CrossFit events, CrossFit games. Logan Vander something or other.
Look it up.
I'll look it up while we're talking. But she was like, again, if you're going to get coached by anybody in CrossFit, this is the coach, and it was really fun because CrossFit Aptos, their community has a lot of older athletes. Yeah. So we were some of the youngest people in the class, and those older athletes were kicking our butts.
They did. I remember that workout too.
I do.
It included running and kettlebell swings and a bunch of other things. And it was, it was unique that Zach Pine owned the gym. Yeah. Michelle Moots coached at the gym.
Yep, she coaches at that gym.
A third extraordinarily unique coach to be coached by. So we had some great workout experiences while we're there. But then, on top of everything else, it's real close to CrossFit headquarters. So we had emailed the media staff there and said, hey, we're going to be in town. We were wondering if we could just stop by and
Logan
see the place.
Vanderpool.
Okay.
Sorry.
Logan Vanderpool. So we emailed, and we got an email back.
From Tyson Oldroyd.
Tyson Oldroyd, another OG CrossFitter. And he said, yeah, if
part
you're
of
in
the
town,
media team.
Just stop in and, let us know you're here. So that's what we did. We just pulled up to CrossFit headquarters, walked in the door, told somebody there that we were looking for Tyson. He came out. He's like, hey, yeah, come on in. Yeah. Gave us a complete tour.
Entire tour of every room.
Yeah. And Savan was doing a podcast at the time.
With Max Andrushenko, owner of a CrossFit affiliate in Afghanistan. Yep. And he's from the Ukraine, and he had how many kids?
Like seven.
Seven kids, and they were all running around playing with different stuff at headquarters. It was really cool.
So we continued our tour, and when the podcast was over, Savan came out and introduced himself. What's that?
Savan
came out and introduced himself and invited us to work out with him.
Yes.
And we were like, okay. So we did a workout there in
and that's where, at the time, that's where they were filming demo videos for the Open or other events, other CrossFit training videos. That's where they had done their recordings. With us there? So we had, I need to look at the picture. We had, it was, again, an all-star group of people. So Tyson, Leif,
who actually wrote most of them.
Who actually, yes, I honestly don't know if he's still there or not, but at the time he was the secret programmer for CrossFit main site. So that information got leaked to us. Dr. Bob Sears, is he an owner of a gym out there? Or if he goes, was on the, he's on the podcast a lot. He was around HQ a lot, and so he was out there working out with us. Gary Roberts, Killing the Fat Man. So he was in a documentary, but he was also a part of the CrossFit media team. Do you remember what the workout was that we did?
I remember it had a handstand hold.
Something with a dumbbell.
Something with a dumbbell and some pull-ups. Something on the bar.
And, they didn't work out. Maybe they did work out with us. Maybe they were doing something else, but they were in the gym. Mariah
was there, yeah.
Who is married. She wasn't married to Tyson at the time, but she's married to him now. And she is a member of the documentary team. So she has directed, I think I want to say The Dominant. What was that one? The Dominant and the Redeemed.
Right.
I think maybe that one. I might be a little bit off. Also, I wanted to point out that Gary Roberts, Jay Vera did the LA. Yes. Death and Diabetes in the City of Angels. And Kevin Ogar. So he directed those documentaries. You need to, after you're done watching or listening to our podcast, you need to Google Death and Diabetes in the City of Angels. It is a heartbreaking, truthful look at our food in society, and especially low-income areas.
Minority income. Mm-hmm. So that was our trip to Santa Cruz. It was that was kind of our big trip.
Well, there was something that went on after.
What's that?
The workout. So Savon said, hey, here's my number. If you guys have some time, my family and I are going to the beach later, and you are welcome to join us. And we're like, I'm just thinking, like, how is this guy so nice? He's, some people find him so abrasive, but he was the nicest person to us. So we did. We went to the Point Market and got a breakfast burrito. And then we met his family there, and we hung out at the beach with him and his wife, Haley, and their 3 boys.
Yep, and a friend of theirs. Yeah.
And a friend of theirs, yeah.
Yeah, it was an amazing trip. Just one of the first of many that we took. So
yeah.
We came back, and the next thing that we did a couple months later was we decided to go to the CrossFit Games.
Yes.
In Madison, Wisconsin, which was year 2 in Madison.
Yeah.
2018. We made the arrangements. We flew up there, rented a car.
Stayed in a hotel.
Stayed in a hotel a long ways from
because we booked it kind of late.
Yeah, because we booked it late. And Chad came out.
Chad and Jamie.
Yep, came out from
Littleton.
CrossFit King Carroll, yep. And we watched the first games. And it's not hard to figure out who won. Matt Frazier and Tia Toomey.
Yeah, Tia Claire Toomey.
Because they do that every year.
This was the year before the cuts. Right. So it was it was 40
athletes.
40 athletes, yes.
That is what it started
40
with,
men, 40 women.
Yeah.
So 80 athletes total to start and finish, right? Yeah, they didn't have any cuts.
No cuts, but there was a few that dropped out.
Yes, there were a few that dropped out because of injury and things like that.
So that was fun. We had a good time watching all that. Also, our coach from CrossFit Lincoln was a master's athlete that year and competed.
Yeah.
Out there. Yeah.
Phil Kniep, yeah. I'm like, who are you talking about? Yeah. Phil Kniep. So he is the owner of, and my boss, technically, the gym, CrossFit Lincoln Nutrition and Fitness. He was an individual games athlete in 2012, I believe. Was it just 1 year?
I believe so.
Yeah. And then so his second year, 2018, he came as a master's athlete in the 35 to 40 division. I think that's how it goes. He did really good, and it was so much fun. The stage that they put the age group athletes, is what they call them, is a little bit smaller than the main the individual athletes. So, but they did go on in the North Park Stadium for a couple of things, didn't they? Yeah.
And ran all the way around out because they had the obstacle course outside of the stadium, so we were able to watch that too.
So that was just a blast. We screamed and cheered, and probably more than what we should have. But it was like, it's like you know that person, so you're like, it's like Elf. I know him. Yeah. I know him. So.
Yep. So that was 2018.
Yes.
And we went back again in 2019.
Correct. Right. We took your RV.
Right.
And we camped, and we rode our bikes to.
Yep. We actually rode our bicycles from the RV campground over to the Coliseum.
To the event center. Yeah.
And
Alliant Energy Center.
Alliant
That's what it
Energy
is,
Center. And watched from there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good time. And that year they had the cuts.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of things. Going back to the first year, we talked about name dropping.
Oh, yeah. So
we saw
Chuck's MO was, before we even got there, was I'm going to get your picture, mine, with as many CrossFit people as possible. So off the top of my head, we saw Savon again. Sean Woodland.
Tommy Marquez,
thank you.
Marston
Sawyers. I have a picture with him. I didn't see Heber Cannon there.
See Heber.
But I got my picture with Marston Sawyers. Bill Grunler. Brooke Entz. Danny Spiegel. Rich Froning Sr., Pat Sherwood, Kevin Ogar, Marcus Philly. You did a cooking segment with Marcus Philly with Paleo Nick Massey of Ice Age Meals.
We saw Mike Anderson again.
Mike Anderson from CrossFit Malibu again. He was wearing a Coca-Cola shirt, I think. It was a baseball tee. Stacy Tovar. I was getting an acai bowl because they have a vendor there. And she goes, hey, I've been thinking of getting those. Are they any good? And I'm like, she's from Omaha. She's a local, and she's an amazing CrossFit Games athlete. So I was like, can I have your picture? So I got a picture with her holding my bowl.
And we saw from CrossFit Mayhem, Ellie.
Yeah, I think we saw her 2019.
Was it the next
year?
one?
It was the next year, yeah.
Her and
Camilla Solomonson Hellman. Yeah. I love that name.
And which year did we see Bellner's coach? We sat by her.
Oh, Michelle. Oh, what's her last name? It just left me. Latondra. Yep. Michelle Latondra. She first year. So 2018, she was.
And that's when Craig Ritchie was sitting behind.
Craig Ritchie and Jasmine, yes. And Obese to Beast. I can't remember his name.
I know what you're talking about.
But he was there too. He is not so much present in the CrossFit. Not I haven't seen any videos from him.
So anyway, that was our MO, was to get as many pictures taken as we could. And if you're watching this on YouTube,
Spencer Hendel and James Hobart, too.
You'll see a lot of these pictures because I'll include them in the video. So we went back the next year, got more pictures. They did the cuts that year, so it was a little different. We were close to who was the announcer that we got close to up in the stands in the corner? That's now at Mayhem and has the beard.
Rory McKernan.
Rory McKernan. Drawing a blank. Sorry, Rory.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, he came up in the corner of the stands that we were in and to do an interview.
Not with us.
No, yeah. What? Yeah.
But we got some videos, so.
Yeah.
So that was a really good time. And then, of course, the following year was COVID. And they held it at the ranch where we'd been to, which was really cool because we were able to say, oh, yeah, we've been there. We saw that. We did remember being right there. And then last year was
2021.
Was back at Madison. And we were supposed to move my son, so we didn't get a chance to go. But we are all bound and determined.
And you also had COVID, so we wouldn't have been able to travel anyway.
Wouldn't have been able to go. But this year we're planning on going again and making that as part of our trip. Yeah. So that's kind of what we've done CrossFit sport-wise. But CrossFit is not just a sport. That's like saying, people say that they don't want to do CrossFit because they can't do all those things. Well, that'd be like saying, well, I don't play golf because I can't compete with Tiger Woods or any of those guys. Because it's more, I don't play softball because I can't hit the ball like A-Rod or anybody like that. So there is a professional aspect to CrossFit, and that's what we went and watched as spectators. But then there's the methodology, the workout.
CrossFit as a training methodology.
For everybody.
Absolutely.
I mean, absolutely. There's kids that go when they're 6-8 years old, and there are seniors that go up to 91 years. Yep.
I took my grandma for almost a year when she was 91 to the gym, and we moved. Yep. She moved. And my favorite phrase that correlates to this is the needs of Olympic athletes and our grandparents differ by degree, not kind. So we still need to deadlift. Maybe we just don't need to deadlift as much as Justin Medeiros.
Right.
Maybe we need to do pull-ups, but we should scale that down to a seated pull-up if you need to. Maybe you, instead of butterfly pull-ups,
right.
So we still need to move our bodies in all of these different planes and move weight and all that. So it's just maybe not as hard or as difficult as an elite athlete would, depending on your goals.
Right.
What is your goal? Do you want to be an elite athlete? Then heck yeah, you need to move like that.
And I think that's something that I've just starting to come across. When I first started, I was like, man, this is great. I want to get better. I want to be good. I want to see how far I want to compete and see what I can do. Not compete at a high level, but compete like I would playing, beer league softball or something like that. I want to do some local competitions. But it's, the difference is I started when I was 50 and now I'm almost 55. So it's, I'm actually on the backside of my athletic career, but I'm still improving on certain things. I'm still getting better, but I'm also realizing that I'm not going to be an elite athlete, nor should I ever thought so. But I am starting to enjoy it more now.
Yeah.
I'm not as critical on myself, but I'm learning. And the reason I got into it was my father, who's very active still, plays golf 5 days a week, hikes, does all this
10,000 steps a day.
10,000 steps a day for 5 years he's been doing it. He had bypass surgery. Didn't have a heart attack, just was in for a regular checkup, and they said, hey, there's something going on. It's
pretty significant.
Score was high. They went in, did a test, and he had triple bypass surgery. So I got my calcium score done, and it was enough to say that, hey, you've got a little
disease in there. Yeah.
Neither one of my siblings had it, but I did, and it was like, man, Chuck, you got to get straight.
Wake up call.
Yep. So that's exactly when it was right before that I went to Orlando and saw Rob doing this methodology that I got it, and then it was important to bring my person with me to get them going. So
I'm his person.
Yes. So that's kind of what started me, and that's what it's really all about. So I may never have the 6 or 8% body fat that some of these guys do, but as long as I'm healthy and my resting heart rate's good and my HRV is good and I'm getting enough sleep and I'm eating the right foods and I'm moving regularly and can still pick up things and keep up with the kids younger than me, then I figure I'm doing the right things.
Yeah. And I want to go back to you started training when you were 50. So your training age is less than 5 years old. You're still a toddler.
Yeah.
You're not even into preschool yet. So if you think of it, and I started training, I was 32 and I've had 2 kids and I've had diastasis that whole time since I've had kids, and I had no idea, that's where your abdominal muscles are separated a little bit. Mine was a little bit more severe than some, but anyway, so, that caused some core dysfunction that I had no idea that I had until I started doing CrossFit, and I realized this was brought up to me. So my training age is also the same age as yours, but you're still improving even as you get older. So it's the point of that is it's never too late to start. I coach 55 plus people at the gym, and their goals are very similar to each other's. They just want to be able to move well into the later years of their life.
Another thing that you kind of hit there with the diastasis is we've both had some injuries in those 5 years. Not injuries caused by CrossFit,
no,
but injuries that we've had in the past that maybe were brought forward that we guarded against before. You had like ACL or your whole knee surgery when you were in college.
Yep.
That kind of flared up with CrossFit, and I had both shoulders, which were related to my service in the Navy. They both kind of flared up. I've since had them repaired because it was important to me to get them fixed so that I could move. And now they're much better. My shoulders are one of my stronger.
Well, they probably, your shoulders and my knee weren't so bad for so many years because we really didn't move.
Yeah, because they hurt and we didn't use them, so it didn't matter. So. What else we got about CrossFit? I think we're getting kind of close.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a trek back in time to our journey in CrossFit. And we still work out. We do a CrossFit workout 4 to 5 days a week. Mm-hmm. We go to the gym as often as possible. We work out here at home. We also are working on getting our 10,000 steps a day right now, just because it's another element of movement that's not too stressful to the body, but it gets the blood flowing, and it's just a great opportunity for us to talk. And
yeah, we do a lot of podcast planning.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And, you know, I just don't see us stopping CrossFit anytime soon. And this is the one thing that I've been able to stick with ever. I've done marathons. Like I said, I did Beachbody. I've gone to the Y, things like that, you know, other regular gyms, and I never stuck with it. So what is it for you, Chuck, that brings you back, that keeps you going in CrossFit every day?
I enjoy the movement, and it makes me feel good, but mostly it's the people that I'm involved with. First of all, you. I mean, I enjoy working out with you. But B, when we do go to the gym in the community, like we went to Friday Night Lights last week, and it was just amazing. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to going tomorrow night. Yeah. We're missing the open announcement right now.
We are.
2.2.
We'll have to watch it.
Yeah, as soon as we're done, we'll get back on that. But it's the community, I think, for me.
And
what about you?
That's exactly my point, the community. So community provides camaraderie and accountability. So you can work out at home all you want, but you aren't going to have that at home at home as much as you would going into the gym or being a part of a community in some other way, possibly online. But yeah, so all the name dropping that we did, those are people in the community that make the sport and the training methodology exciting. And then you build amazing friendships at your gym, and I feel the same way when we go to a new gym in a new place. Like, you are welcomed immediately into that gym to come and sweat.
Oh, yeah. We'll go over that in a future video.
Yeah.
Or podcast.
Drop-ins.
We have done a ton of drop-ins.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
So where are they going to find us? You're going to find us on Facebook at
the Ford Realtors.
Right?
Yeah.
And on Instagram at
Constantly Varied Living.
And on our website as realtors at
www.the1867collective.com. I apparently forgot how websites work there for a second. So
I think should wrap it up for the day.
That's we're gonna end up talking about CrossFit and other topics, like more specific topics, I'm sure. But that's just kind of a nutshell. So thank you for joining us today, and look forward to our next podcast coming to you soon.
Bye.
Do you think Brad hates us?
I think so.